Hey, it's Terry Gorry, and this is the Irish Law and Small Business podcast. So the case reported there in the Irish Times, I suppose it's probably in the other papers as well, it's to do with a WRC case, and it's to do with a claim by a man for unfair dismissal. The chap was a Tesco manager, and he was dismissed from his job. He was a Tesco manager, as I said, dismissed from Tesco. He was sacked for drinking Red Bull without paying, and he forgot to pay for the drinks on 3 occasions with a total value of $9.45. There's a very important principle here. That is that an employer is entitled to enjoy trust and confidence in the employee, especially so in the context or in a job which involves handling cash and that type of thing, handling stock. So even though the amount of money lost by Tesco, which is a company with a multi-billion valuation, even though it was only 3 cans of Red Bull and only $9.45, and he claimed that, John Hurd is the chap, he claimed that he forgot to pay, and he said he was on the verge of being made homeless and was losing sleep over it and so on. The supermarket made the case that the bond of trust with him was broken, and it was reasonable to sack him in the circumstances from his 39,000 or 33,900 euros a year post. And the Workplace Relations Commission adjudicator, Pat Brady, agreed with Tesco. So the bottom line is there's a very, very significant, very important principle involved here, and that is the question of trust and confidence. The employee is supposed to have trust and confidence in the employer, but likewise an employer must be able to have trust and confidence in an employee. And if an employee is in a responsible position, like for example managing a Tesco store or an assistant manager or anything of that nature, a cashier, and if he's forgetting to pay for stuff, quite frankly, I mean, let's call a spade, he was accused of theft, then the employer is entitled to dismiss because of the lack of trust and confidence that could no longer exist between employer and employee. Some people might say it's very, very harsh. Some people might say, look at his circumstances. He, in his own defence and in pursuing his claim for unfair dismissal, claimed that other employees were treated differently, etc., etc. I doubt that very much, quite frankly, but that was his argument, that was his contention, that was his proposition. The bottom line is any employer, especially in the retail space, but any employer who finds an employee guilty, as it were, after carrying out an investigation of theft in the workplace, then the employer is entitled to dismiss, is entitled to terminate, and a claim for unfair dismissal would be hard to sustain, very, very hard to win. However, it won't be hard to win if the employer makes a mess of the disciplinary process, and that's a possibility because there was a previous case which I've covered on this channel. You'll find it there in the last few weeks, where Tesco fired a manager down the country. I'm not sure whether it was Laois or Kilkenny, and he was a manager who forgot to pay for cigarettes. He actually won his case, but he won his case because of the poor way that Tesco enforced the disciplinary procedure. They made some stupid mistakes, quite frankly, in the way that the disciplinary was carried out, and for that reason, even though they were claiming it was the same situation, they couldn't have trust and confidence in this man as a manager. He was forgetting to pay for cigarettes, and they were basically accusing him of theft. They made a mess of the procedure. So there you go. Employer will be able to dismiss if there's a breach of trust and confidence, provided that the disciplinary procedure is properly carried out. Hope you find this video useful. If you do, I'd appreciate if you gave it the thumbs up down below. Thanks a lot.